Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream with Mint Markets. Today is Monday. Let me start with the economic calendar today. Today we have Monday the 19th. So we had at 9:15 a.m. New York time, we had FOMC member Waller speaks. Besides that, we have no news events today, high or medium impact news events that I consider relevant. And let me jump right into the analysis. But before we start, let me remind you that all being said and done here is my personal opinion, and please do not risk real money on anything being said or shown here. You could potentially lose your money. With that being said, let's jump right into the analysis. We have 4 more minutes till the Silver Bullet window at 10 a.m. New York time starts for me, my personal trading session. Let's start on a daily chart. We had a big move up last week. We have traded into this gap shallowly. We have not taken out the high here so far. Nothing. We have relative equal highs here above, so that's what I'm looking here. I find that interesting. And besides that, what we've seen today, we had opening price here at midnight delineated in the red with the red line here. We had our new week opening gap here, the 2 blue shaded areas here, and we have our opening range gap here, delineated, which is the price between 9:30 today, where we opened, and Friday's close. Let me check real quick if I'm in fact live and everything is working. All right, looks good so far. If I'm in, because I don't want to speak here an hour, nobody, in front of nobody able to watch this. All right, looks good, perfect. If you are watching, let me know if you are watching. Right, so far everything looks good. And so far, let me start right with the bias. So far, I think I don't have a clear bias. I think the upside, the draw to the upside is a little bit more likely in this session. We do have relative equal highs here. So that's what I'm looking. Buy side here. So that's basically what I'm watching. And However, price started a little bit choppy today, so you can see that we have taken out this 15-minute low here. We have traded through the new week opening gap here. So far we saw support here. And so far we are a little bit choppy since we are at the midnight opening price here. And we found also support here in this opening range gap here so far. Liquidity is here and here, relative equal highs. The sell side liquidity would be down here, as you can see obviously, but as long as we do not trade through this new week opening gap, I would be a little bit more bullish on today's session. However, I don't have a clear bias. I have made some annotations prior to the stream also. And I annotated some fair value gaps here, however, they were not respected. So we had a run here, traded higher into this fair value gap, made another run higher here, was just 4 handles, and so far very choppy again, very choppy session so far, and took buy side liquidity out, and now it seems like we're looking for sell side. If we're going for sell side, we have very obvious equal lows here. And so far it doesn't look very strong, however. Again, I want to see the blue line here, this new week opening gap. These blue lines, I want to see if that can act as support and hold price up, or if we trade through it. So this for me is the last line of defense. 5580 should keep price to the upside. If this fails, we're probably going to go lower, attacking some sell side liquidity here. Here is the next one. So far at the very moment, not really nice trading conditions from my point of view. It's just too choppy. I don't want to be in a trade in these conditions. Going just back and forth, back and forth. Let's draw that out in time a little bit. And what we can do as well here is annotating the opening range as ICT defines it. So it's the high and the low from 8:30, from 9:30 to 10 a.m. New York time. So we start here at 9:30. We take the lowest low. So that's actually the discount low of this opening range gap as well. And then we can take the high until 10. So we have the opening range high here. Opening range high here. and we are still kept in a range so far. So opening range low, opening range high. If we measure the midpoint here, we are about at 50% here. We're right at the 50% level if I measure that with the FIB. So we haven't broken out of the range yet. And you can clearly see that so far it's just a chop here. And that's also not unusual if we have a news driver week. We have the Jackson Hole Symposium here on Thursday, and the week can tend to be choppy this week, so we have to keep that in mind when trading. And we don't want to push our edge here and just jump into a trade here. We might see a lot of back and forth here. And so far we are back above the new week opening gap here. So we traded into it, respected so far. The bodies respected so far the gap again. And you can see here we are trading higher from this new week opening gap so far from the blue line here. With another attempt, in my opinion, to go higher here. So again, very hard conditions, but I'm slightly bullish here. But I'm happy that I have not taken a trade, because if I would have taken a trade, I would have entered here, and my stop would be somewhere here, and I would have been stopped out probably. So far I'm happy that I have not taken any trade. However, price seems to be still hard conditions today. So far it looks strong again. It looks like it wanna attack the buy side liquidity as outlined. And so far we respected this gap nicely here. This new week opening gap. In my opinion, it would be better if this fair value gap here stays open. So if we do not trade again into this fair value gap, that would signal us that price is in fact strong today. We have not quite taken out the high here, the first one. Still so far we respect price. Price respects the discount levels, so I'm not shifting gears here. I'm staying with a slightly bullish bias here. see. That's a nice run, at least 10 handles. So from the low to this new week opening gap to the high, to the liquidity high is like 10 handles. So that's a tradable range. However, to get into a trade, we would need a setup, a tradable setup as well, and I don't have that yet. And so far, from a trading perspective, it's still a little bit boring. Don't have anything tradable yet. Let's see if we leave a fair value gap open here. We have another fair value gap just formed here. So that's our 3-minute fair value gap here. Actually, even better to annotate this. This portion here. Another fair value gap here on the 2-minute. If price is in fact strong, it leaves this fair value gap open. But if we would take a trade here, we would have considered a second gap for our potential stop. For me, it will be of interest to see if we find support in this fair value gap here, and if this lower fair value gap here on the 2-minute chart stays open, can stay open. We have exactly nailed the high here. So high here is 5592 and the other high here 5592. So we have just traded up into the first high here. So the first buy side liquidity is basically taken. So we have a deep retracement in here now. Price is very choppy today. So we have to log into the account. But I will try long here. And even though I know I will just take one contract because I know that probabilities are not really amazing, and I will put it below this low here that forms the gap. So we have a value gap here, the low is here, so that's where my stop is. And I will see if we are in fact want to go higher, and if we are in fact are willing to take out the daily high here, or if the conditions are tradable, might be untradeable today as well. So far it's the only fair value gap here, so let's see. So far it doesn't look very good. And looks like I'm stopped here. All right, great. So it's not a high probability long here. Was stopped on this portion here, and took a small hit here, and that's what was the risk kind of with this in this market conditions. It did not respect any fair value gap so far here, didn't respect, so we'll put them away. But you can see it did not respect the 3-minute fair value gap, nor the 2-minute fair value gaps, and the 1-minute neither. So, and we are now back below. So we're actually in a really shitty market condition again. We have now taken out the equal lows here. The sell side liquidity are outlined here. And it's really hard to trade these days and really hard to stream these days. Since price is really not clean and unpredictable at the moment. However, at least we got some tape reading here, made an equal high here, went below the opening range gap here so far, and took out the opening range high here, now took out the opening range low here, and we are below this equal lows here and this equal low here. What we can do as well is bring in the Nasdaq for greater clarity here. The Nasdaq also was not able to make a higher high so far, so Nasdaq going lower as well. And the S&P dropping so far. So we are definitely in a seek and destroy market in my opinion. So we're taking out highs and lows, and it's really not very high probability today. So I have to be very careful today, or I will not take another trade today in these conditions. The two lines here are reached for sell side. So we got a pretty big, quick reversal here. And we took out both marked areas so far. Sell side here is gone, buy side here is gone. And we can see if that was enough, or if we turn around here again, if that was enough of a liquidity run, we might see another turnaround here. Or if it really wants to go deeper to upset some more liquidity here. So watch that on a lower time frame now. So I'm going to watch here if we see a market structure shift here, or if we just stay heavy. Really not so fun, these conditions to trade, to be honest, at the very moment. Maybe I chose the wrong time to start streaming. Maybe I should have waited for better market conditions. So far, with a pretty strong reaction of the sell side liquidity here, as I potentially lined out, and we might see another run higher to attack buy side liquidity now. Again. So far, there is really nothing. There is really nothing in the charts I want to trade or I'm seeing. It was a try to take the long here, but besides that, there is absolutely nothing. We can see if we now go higher again after we took out the sell side liquidity here. And if we see a setup or a market structure shift on a lower time frame. And we are again back above the, I will remove the Nasdaq, doesn't give me real good insight. And we are immediately back above here. So looks like a stop run, looks like I was victim to a stop run here initially. We have a fair value gap here now. So we can observe that as well, see if that supports price here. And we are again back above the lines here, our new week opening gap here, so we can see if we want to make an attempt to go higher now again. Here, if that supports price, and if we want to get an attempt from here to make another higher high and to run out the liquidity here eventually. That's what I'm looking at. So far we closed here, so far that looks good. One could have taken an entry here, going for another higher high here. This one is a bullish order block formed here. And so far it looks like the gap's being respected. It's not fully cleared here. And I'm taking another long here now. And I will target a buy side liquidity here. The old low, with the idea or the bias that it takes out the high here and wants to go make another attempt here to take out these equal highs here. So that's what I'm thinking. And my stop will be here. So second trade, second chance, and we will see if the market conditions allow a tradable price action here today. We have a fair value gap here, so we should trade through here and see that as support. In my opinion, this trade is valid. We have an upside objective. We have this daily high here. We have this session high here. We took out liquidity here, and I think we are now attempting to run out liquidity again. And if this trade fails here, I will not enter another trade today. If this trade is very well solid, in my opinion, it should definitely not come back down here. I'm moving the stop a little bit. And it should take out the highs here now. Otherwise, I'm not trusting price today again, and I will not take further trades. Abdul, hi buddy. Glad to have you back in my stream. Nice that you're stopping by. I hope everything is good. You had a nice weekend. And yeah, market conditions today again, in my opinion, still very choppy and difficult. But however, I'm, as you can see, trying to get something out of it, even if it's not real favorable today again. The trade ideas, in my opinion, is sound. We've taken out sell side liquidity 1 and 2 here marked, and now the trade was actually successful. So target hit, and today again very hard and difficult conditions in my opinion. I took the low hanging fruit now, and we might. What I'm looking all day long is this buy side liquidity here, and we got that. So nice, even though it was just a small little trade. Scalp here, so got stopped out here in the first attempt here, and took the second one here on the order block here after the fair value gap. So it was a late entry actually, didn't take the fair value gap entry, and targeted the previous session's high with the idea that that buy side here may want to get swept. And since we have such a choppy day again, I'm very careful, and I'm happy with just this highs here. So also just used one contract, didn't make a lot of money, but at least we are in plus, more money to the account than to the stop out. So insignificant amount, but just for trading and showcasing purposes. I'm not trying to push hard in these conditions. I don't know. I don't want to risk a lot here. Yeah. So you hope that the trading week is better than the whole last week, and I hope so as well. I hope for you. I hope for me. I hope that the conditions are getting better and freed up in comparison to last week, which was really not nice. At least there were some tradable moves, but there was nothing during our live stream time window between the 10 to 11 a.m. New York time. Their market was always a little bit shitty. And let me see. So we had like 6 handle run here, so nothing too big, but a nice little intraday scalp here. So I'm happy at least with this trade here, that it worked out, and that I could mitigate the previous stop out. And I think if price is not too choppy here, I think we will see another attempt to run out the buy side here, 5593. Have you taken any trades today, Abdul, or are you seeing any setups? What's your opinion about the market today and the bias? Would be interesting if you like to share. Are you in line with me? Are you having the opposite mindset? Or are you staying out? Are you sitting on your hands because the market is not perfectly ideal today? So we've taken out liquidity here, so we have to be careful. We could see another pullback here, maybe another stop run, or we could just stay very ugly on the 15-minute. We have a volume imbalance here, so we can mark that here on the 1-minute, fair value gap here on the 5-minute. So let's see if price is staying strong here. We have another about four handle move from here to our buy side liquidity marked on the 15-minute chart here. Not too exciting, but still we can tape reading. We can tape read it, and at some point I would expect liquidity here being taken to the upside. Yes, took two trades up 0.4% today. Nice. Congrats to that. Last long trade you took was the exact long I took, but exactly from the fair value point on Nasdaq. Nice. So congrats. I was a little I didn't take the fair value gap because I was looking for a little bit more confirmation here, since it was so choppy and was running highs and lows out so far. So I wanted to have confirmation that this fair value gap here, that we don't close below or go right through that again. So that's why I saw the fair value gap, and usually I would take the fair value gap, but in this case here I waited for this order block to form, and then I took the long right into the order block. But nice trade, glad for you. And just from my perspective, I would be happy with the win. I would not try to push too hard today. I think so far the conditions are not ideal, so if you were able to take something out today, I wouldn't risk too much today. My personal view on the market. But we might see another attempt higher now. And let's see if we can take out the 5. The 5593.5 level out next. That's what I'd be interested in. That's what I'm looking at. So let me check out Nasdaq's 1-minute chart. So Abdul, yeah, if I understand correct, you have taken the fair value gap entry here and have rolled it up to the equal highs here, and for about 45 handles in the Nasdaq. Very nice trade. And you're right, it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly basically the pendant to the trade I took in the S&P. What was the second trade you took? Did you took as well the same as me, or did you take another one? Right, it would be interesting to know which was your second trade. Nasdaq pulling back a little bit, S&P so far staying a little bit stronger. So far we have seen so far we have taken out another high, and I think we will reach the buy side liquidity very soon. Second trade was the long. I closed that and then came here while you were in the second trade. I trade second trade was the long. I closed that and then came here while you were in the trade. I trade maximum 1 to 2R, R risk reward, then 80% and trail my stop loss above 1.5 RR. Okay. Not sure if I understand that correct. My question was basically, what was I guess what was the first trade you took? Or what was the trade you didn't took that was similar to the trade I took, if you want. Yeah, but the one 2 RR is definitely a smart. I think it's good to have a 1 2 RR. It's not required. You can take 1 ones as well if you're higher, if you have a higher strike rate than 50%. But yeah, a good risk to reward is definitely good as well, in my opinion. So Nasdaq consolidating as well, while S&P is a little bit stronger at the very moment here. And I think we will hit the buy side here very soon. If I would have had a second contract on, I would have taken one partial here and the second one here. However, since the trading day is very choppy and I have had just one contract on, I took everything off at the low hanging fruit target. We have 5 minutes left until the full hour macro, as I call it, the macro which should spool price from 10.50 to 11.10. first trade I took on Nasdaq on 15-minute ATM fair value candle. It gave me 25 handle. It was a short position, and then my second trade was the exact long you took in the start. All right, thanks. Now I'm understanding. Thanks for the explanation. And now also we got the second my second target hit here. So basically the buy side liquidity here that I was expecting. So we got actually both hit. We got the sell side liquidity hit here on the stop run, and the buy side liquidity now on the real actual move. So at least tape reading was good, and also one good trade riding up the long as well. And yeah, basically that is actually all I was looking at this session. So basically at the very moment we can see if we want to go higher, but that's where my targets for the session. So right now I need to wait for more information, and I'm not sure if I'm going to take a second trade. I think most likely not, but we can stick around 10 more minutes and see if something forms. What would be interesting to observe for me is uh, if we have ran these highs out, and if we go lower now, if we want to get a market structure shift and collapse here, or if we stay strong and just go higher from here without looking back. Stop run, if we have in fact a directional move today, that stop run should be it. So I would not like to see, or I'm not expecting a second stop run here. So if we in fact have an up close day and a bullish day, oh, that's I have to put the labels off. Too many executions. If we have in fact an up close day, then I would expect price to stay strong here after taking the liquidity out here, and just go higher from here. And I would not like to see another sell stop run here, but let's see. We have about 10 more minutes left, and I will close it in about 10 minutes if I don't see another high probability trade opportunity today. And these candles like 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m., 9:30 and 10 a.m. candles always provide you with a fair value gap, and trust me, 15 minutes, 5-minute fair value gap on these candles are the only fair value gap you need to see the price. Okay, cool observation for you, Abdul. Yeah, I think this is very influential times as well. 8:30, it's also my model. So besides streaming, I'm myself. I'm looking at. I'm starting to look at the market at 8:30 a.m. and 8:30, 9 a.m., 9:30, 10 a.m. That's all very influential times. So I agree with you. And if you have a nice target here, equal highs or a bias direction, and you can find a solid fair value gap in there, that's probably the best, or they are good, and you would not need nothing else besides that. So yeah. But of course you need 1 minute candles for entries, but just talking about the key levels. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing and the exchange in the chat. And yeah, I also like to include me personally, I like all the time frames below the 15 minutes. So I take the 5 minute, the 3 minute, the 2 minute, the 1 minute. But of course, I agree, you don't necessarily need them. So I got your point if you say like 15 5-minute fair value gaps are the only thing you need. But yeah, for sometimes you miss some entries, or you don't see every fair value gap or every bit of information if you don't use the 3, 2, or 1 minute fair value gap, in my opinion. And of course, you can use them for entries as well. So far, we stay strong, which is good. So we can see that we expand higher. So far, it looks like we are staying strong here after taking out the high. So no signs of a market structure shift to the downside here. We are in the macro window, 10 from 10.50 to 11.10 here. So we should see some movement and displacement here. And we could see either a stop run, which I don't think we will see. We can see a order block entry, which order block we would have here, or we have a fair value gap entry if we're looking for setup. So that's what we could potentially see. Doesn't have to be that we get the entry, but that are the opportunities if one, in my opinion, looks for a trade setup in this macro window. You have 3 opportunities. You have a stop run, a turtle soup entry, fair value gap entry, or order block. I think I will close the stream soon. There's, at the moment, since all my targets are hit, the buy side is hit, the sell side is hit, I don't think I will take another trade. I will not try to break out here and see how far it goes. I'm not a breakout trader here, so I will not try to catch the move here after the breakout. And if you like me doing daily live streams here, analyzing and trading in front of you guys, I would highly appreciate it if you leave the video a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss another stream. And that would help me to grow the community a little bit, and it's also motivation for me to keep going with these live streams. Let's see what we can do until end of the year, and then I'm seeing if I will decide if I will continue with these live streams. I have a request. I really am struggling to determining the bias. I know it's basic, but still can't recognize it properly. Can you share a minute and explain this to me? I'm confused. You mean today's bias or in generally, Abdul? I'm happy to share what I'm doing for bias. Of course, it also takes some experience, so it's not so easy to explain 1, 2, 3, but I'm happy to share. If you just tell me if you mean especially today's bias, how I came to the long bias, or you mean generally what's my procedure. Happy to share that with you, of course. We have another fair value gap here. let's see how another small fair value gap here on the 2-minute. Let's see how price respects that. In general, okay, you were asking in general, Abdul. Okay, I will try to do it in general. So first, of course, I'm starting at the higher time frame. So I'm starting at the weekly chart, and I look and see if I can determine which the candle is most likely expanding to. So I'm looking if I have a obvious level on the weekly chart, which I think price wants to go to. So a PD array, fair value gap, or equal high, or significant higher low, or whatever, you know. And here on the weekly chart, there's not a real obvious PD array in my opinion now. But for example, on the daily chart here, so we have this old high here, we have the gap here, we have a fair value gap here. So far we had a strong trend up, and also so that's why, for example, my bias was, okay, I think we're likely to go into this gap here and take out this high here, for example. So I was slightly bullish on the daily chart here. Also, I'm looking at old new week opening gaps. I look, okay, there is one above, so that's a level where price might want to go. Another one here, and also we have election year. So in election year, it's usually they like to pump the stock market up until we get the election. And then on the intraday session, I look like, okay, um, so do we have equal highs or lows? For example, here today, we had this very obvious equal highs here. So that's what and that fits that fitted to the narrative that I want to see higher prices on the daily chart as well. And there was nothing really of interest to me down here. So I'm looking for obvious equal highs and lows. And also I'm looking for intraday bias. So where has the opening price, the 12 o'clock midnight price and the 8:30 opening price, where are they? So I'm looking if we are in a discount or in a premium. So if we are way below the opening price from midnight and 8:30, and we have equal highs above us, for example, then I'm looking for a bullish bias, of course. And I'm also looking at the new day opening gap, the new week opening gap, the opening range gap, the opening range itself. And I'm looking like if we are above or below these levels, did we find support there? Did we break through them and had resistance there? So that's all things I'm looking at. And of course, there is also some parties is just experience. If you read price for a couple of time, then you get the feeling what price wants to do, which level are more unlikely. So for example, we were here. I saw that we had a lot of support here in this opening new week opening gap here. The bodies, it wicked below, but the bodies always stayed above the midpoint and here above this premium high. And again, price was very choppy here as well, so very efficient. So it's a high resistance run going lower here, so it's not so easy for price to come lower here. And we had this equal highs here, which is a low resistance liquidity run higher with my daily and also the seasonal or the overall bias that stocks might want to go higher. That all comes together, and um, I'm weighing out what is more likely. And sometimes I don't have the bias every day, but sometimes I don't have a bias, or it's also 50-50 for me, or I need more information. And sometimes it's very obvious, but usually it's a combination of different factors um, that that give me like the bias. So there's, for example, like five things which um, give me the indication that the price wants to go higher, and maybe one or two that would be a point of interest on the sell side, and then I'm weighing out, and then I'm also observing price and see, okay, what is doing price. So I think like the chance is higher because I have 5 points of interest above price and just one or two below. So I think the draw is higher on it's more likely to go to the buy side. And then at the same time I'm watching price and see, does it is it in a discount, is it below the opening, the midnight price, are the gaps and the PD array supporting price, is it showing strength, or is it weakening at the I'm looking also at the key times, like what is the algo doing at the key times, etc., etc. So yeah, and then I'm weighing out and see what is more likely, and if certain price action things are setups form in the right direction, then I'm confident I can take the trade, for example. So basic bias is like the smell of food before you eat it. You predict the taste of the food before you eat it. Correct me if I'm wrong. um, yeah, I think so. Yeah. So exactly. So you smell, you have an indication already what it wants to do. Of course, it's never 100% certain, so there's not 100% bias in my opinion. So it's always like but as you say, like if you get the smell of food, then you can figure out what direction the smell comes from, to stay with this analogy, and then you know, okay, food is near, and the wind comes from this direction, so it's probably coming from that side. And if you have a couple of indications why the food basically is left to you and not right, because the wind comes from the left side, for example, and we have already looked on the right side and there was nothing, and a lot of people are probably on the left side, then you have a couple of indication that there is food, right? Or maybe someone comes from left with food in his hands and so stuff like this. Um, yeah, and it's the same. Like I start on the higher time frame and try to predict where to have obvious levels where price wants to draw to, PD arrays, gaps, highs, lows, equal lows, and I see if I can see where the weekly candle is likely to go through. I try to find it on the daily chart as well, and then I go down to the session and I see if I can find. And it really depends what you're doing, right? I mean, uh, the daily bias is not so important if you just try to make intraday scalps, because you can scalp in both directions, right? So if, for example, as I outlined these equal lows here before, and I said, okay, that's potential sell side liquidity. So even though the daily bias is bullish, you just need to have the session bias, right? You can say, okay, we took out sell side liquidity, we buy side liquidity, sorry, we disrespected a couple of fair value gaps, and you could and we still have a lot of sell side liquidity here. You could also take a short without having the right daily bias, but of course you have to have the session bias, so at the key times, so the 10-10 macro, for example, here, and or stuff like this. So every session and every day has a couple of intraday or session biases, and you have to determine the right one, right? But of course it's easier in my opinion to trade into the direction of the overall daily, weekly session bias, because if you trade against it, it's harder, right? But yeah, it's a couple of things, and I think you will also get better over time if you just practice, if you just read price daily, if you try and try to predict the bias every day. So try to go into the session and see what bias you can have, what bias, what conclusion you come to, and then see if you're right or wrong and analyze it, and try to make a bias every day for yourself. You can check that back with my bias, for example, and I'm also in my streams usually when I have a bias, I will of course let you know why I have this bias. So I'm telling you I have the bias because I have this and this target. So you can also, if you like, compare it with my bias or what I'm seeing. Yeah, today was definitely better. Yeah, I agree. It started still very choppy in my opinion. So until the stop run, it was pretty shitty as well. But after the stop run here, um, it started to free up a little bit. And the first setup here on the 1 minute, after that we had a nice run. And also the prediction was today was not bad in my opinion. So we were able to outline the big moves here. We had the right targets. We took a successful trade, and also we saw here, for example, that it was holding ground here. We had this 1 minute fair value gap, and we can see support here. It went into this small 2 minute fair value gap here, showed support here, and goes higher so far. One could have taken an entry here. So that's what I mentioned. So every 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 macro time window you will have an opportunity if you are right. And in this case it was the fair value gap. And I think that's it. I'm not interested. It can go higher from here, and who knows how far, but I will not take an entry in this session anymore, another one. I'm happy with what I got here, and again I would have, if I would have had more contracts on, I would have left a second partial for here, and maybe if I had even more we could have left a runner on, but with one contract it's not just possible. And today in the end it started to be a nice day, but at the beginning I was not feeling confident. So there's days where I'm confident right away, and today with all this chop here I was not confident right away. So we'll leave the high risk trades to another day. And yeah, true, we only need 5 to 10 handles to be profitable. I'd agree with that on the S&P. So I think 5 is minimum to have in the S&P. and with the Nasdaq it can be maybe 15 to 20. Yeah, and if you can make, for example, like I trade the S&P mainly, if you can make 5 handles a day, that's amazing, and you can have I don't know, depending on your leverage, but I don't know, 5 handles in the S&P can be 1%. So if you make 5%, if you would be able to make 5% every day, which I think is still hard, but which I'm not making every day, but if you would, you had 5% every week, 20% a month, and that's phenomenal. I think everything, if you can make 100% a year, that's amazing, or even more. All right, yeah, I will close the stream. I hope, I'm glad that you could take something out of it, hopefully. And I will be streaming tomorrow again. So if you like, stop by tomorrow. And yeah, just keep going. Daily bias will come with experience. You will be better every day, I'm sure. And also, yeah, if you like, come and watch my stream, and I will also explain you and give you my targets and explain why I'm looking at the bias, or how I come to the conclusion to the bias. Maybe that helps you as well. All right, yeah, 5% on a 10K funded account every week in 5K a week. That would be amazing, but again, try to be realistic. Like, I think, to be honest, to make 5 handles every day, or let's say 5% every week, that's not so easy. That's already, I think, to make that really consistently, you need to be an experienced trader. And I think it's also, it's good to have high goals. It's good to have high goals, and you should always try to follow them, but you should also be realistic at some point, and not, yeah, it's easy to say, to calculate some fictional numbers and say, okay, yeah, if I do one trade here and one trade here, and then I will be a millionaire in 1 year. That's easy to do, but in reality, it's a little bit more challenging. So yeah, just stay realistic and set big goals, but don't have unrealistic expectations, because that's demotivating. And I know what I'm speaking of. When I first started trading and I had like high goals and then I didn't reach them, I it was very disappointing. And then I set more realistic goals, and I was content with less, and then it's easier. You hit your targets easier, and you hit it more often, and then it also becomes a little bit more fun. All right, that's it. I hope you like the stream. I will be back tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. New York time. I would be very happy if you give me a thumbs up if you haven't done so, and if you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. I wish you all the best. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow. Have a nice rest of the day wherever you are in the world.